Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, abuse me and my mother for years, keep us out of our home and stop me from getting a haircut? Enjoy having an entire neighborhood kick your ass and steal your shit. Steal my stuff? Get glittered. Revenge on the neighbor's kid's intrusion on our property. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Abuse me and my mother for years, keep us out of our home and stop me from getting a haircut? Enjoy having an entire neighborhood kick your ass and steal your shit. As my username would suggest, this happened way back in 2011, fucking hell. This happened in 2010. I graduated in 2011, which is why I'm fixated on that date. Sorry. The reason I'm compelled to share this now is because I graduate soon with my MS degree in mechanical engineering. My grades sucked all through high school in many ways, due to Michael, the subject of this post, and I've struggled with depression and anxiety over the years. I shared this story with my GF this morning and she was shocked at it. I just never thought to share it before. She told me to post it here. My mom dated a guy named Michael from the time I was 7 until December 17, 2010. I had just recently turned 18 and was in my last year of high school. Michael was a person who did not deal well with issues he had from his own abusive upbringing. I've been a shit person before myself, and I'm sure I still have a lot of room to improve, so I never like to speak poorly of people because I think it can be accurately assumed that most people have a good reason for being the way they are. It's not an excuse, but I don't think people are bad. I think bad circumstances condition people to behave badly. Michael was a severe alcoholic, he was childish, he was obsessed with knives, would talk about how he wished he could gut people alive, hung around violent criminals, and took me around them as a child. He was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive to my mother. My mother wanted him to be my dad though, so to his credit he filled the dad role as best he could, but the best he could do was to teach me extremely unhealthy relationship dynamics and how to glorify violence and bravado. At the end of high school my mom's mom died and left my mom a house. The house was is decently sized, and while it's still in the ghetto, it's in as safe a part of the ghetto as there is. Everyone that lives in this corner of the city has been here for decades, and we all know each other very well. We're like a big family, but we keep to ourselves unless invited in by others. We respect boundaries, and that's what makes this small community a good one. Now, important to note, my neighbors and older brothers are not angels. These people are violent criminals in their own right. But they were on my side, and this is important. So the house. It was left to me and my mother. Michael refused to let us enter the home. My mom and I lived in the smallest, shittiest apartment in the most violent part of the city. And for 18-year-old me, I'd only just begun to reflect on life and realize how shitty Michael, and my narcissistic mother, had been towards me. I was fed up, and living in this disgusting, violent apartment was just fueling my rage every second. One day, I was especially furious. I just woke up in an absolute quiet rage. Contained myself through the school day, and I was just fixated on getting a haircut. That was my goal for the day. Just get a haircut, get home, go to bed. And it's very important to note that I'm in a boot for a badly sprained ankle at this time. That comes up later. My mom throws a monkey wrench in my plans. See, she was sure Michael was cheating on her again. So she demanded I go over to the house I grew up in, that he kicked us out of, to inspect and see if there was another woman, or if there was evidence of other women being in the home. I protest, but to no avail. And at this point I'm about an inch from exploding. I drive over to the house, and I knock at the door for 7 minutes. This pushed me to about 1/2 of an inch from explosion. I grew up in the house. I fucking knew the acoustics of it. I don't care if you're in the last room upstairs at the back of the house. If someone lightly taps the front door, you hear that shit. So I knew he was making me wait as some show of dominance, that this was his house. He eventually unlocks the door, and I push it open and push him back in the process. He yells out and asks me what was wrong, and I responded in saying that I was there to make sure he wasn't fucking anyone else in my grandma's house. Now, I'm a pretty large guy. And Michael was small. Even back then I dwarfed him. But I've always been a gentle giant, as my mom says. I'd never gotten into a fight, almost never raised my voice, or asserted myself with anyone. So for me to respond so firmly and disrespectfully, with no concern for how he felt, he backed off a bit in that moment. I noticed that. I began walking through every room of the house. I was finding nothing and no one, and I was fine with this. Remember, my goal is the haircut. That's all I want out of life right now. And then I get to my grandma's old bedroom. I open the door, and it slams back in my face. Then out steps Michael's brother, who was about my size, and he says to me, "Ain't nothing for you in there." I remember being so angry, it was like past the point of an explosion. I described it to my GF as pure rage and malevolence, yet restrained. I had this black expression on my face, turned around and walked downstairs, and I told Michael in a calm voice, "Get your brother and leave now. I've had enough of you in my life." Michael then, believing I was intimidated by his brother, gets in my face and starts to scream and curse and threaten me. I stood there honest to God just looking at him like a lion looks at the weak, small, destructible gazelle. Literally thinking to myself, I can break you. He then yells at me to get the fuck out my house. All of a sudden I was snapped out of this trance state, and I responded and said, "Nigga, you have no house. You're homeless now. Get your brother and leave." He must have, again, recognized that his brother was all the way upstairs, and I was inches away from him. But he's in too deep now. He has to commit lest his pride be wounded. So he says, "Oh, you think I'm a bitch, huh?" And of course I responded, "I think you're a homeless bitch." He then turns around and just keeps repeating, "You think I'm a bitch?" He eventually comes back with 2 knives in his hands. I see this, and at this moment I'm very seriously okay with the thought of dying right then and there. Life had always been shit, and I couldn't even get my damn haircut. This part still makes me cry even right now. So I told him, "You're going to have to kill me the first time you swing at me with those." Then his brother comes downstairs. I never took my eyes off of Michael. His brother stands on the stairs a few feet away from Michael, and Michael drops the knives and tries to tackle me and push me out of the house. I slip a little because of the boot, but once I get a little friction under the boot, it literally feels like when your little cousin/sibling tries to fight you. In that moment, I thought about how I was about to destroy this man. His brother must have saw me smile, because then he jumped in and started pushing me as well. IDK if I was stronger than I thought, or if the rage gave me an adrenaline rush, but I was pushing them both back. Michael's brother then starts to kick my boot, which both hurt my ankle, and made me slip back. That, coupled with them pushing, eventually pushed me out of the front door, off the porch, and down the stairs onto the ground in front of the house. And this is the angriest I have ever been in my life. I was angry to the point where I would have gladly hurt myself to hurt them. I got so overcome with emotion, I started to cry and my breathing got erratic. Michael and his brother were taunting me as this happened, and I just started to take off the boot. I didn't want the haircut anymore, I wanted both of them hurt or dead. The next thing I notice is that people started surrounding me. I'm still struggling to regain motor control and take off the damn boot, and then 2 of my older brothers from the neighborhood, Jiggy and Tyrone, kneeled down and consoled me. Jiggy asked me what was wrong and what happened. I told them about all the shit Michael had done over the years and what happened that day. When I got to the end, Tyrone said, "Hold up, Lil Chris, these motherfuckers put you out of Miss Mama, what everyone used to call my grandma, house. After you told them to leave?" Then both Jiggy and Tyrone started taking their shirts off and told me they'd take care of them if I said it. And I then heard all the stirring behind me. Damn near the entire block was in our yard or in the street in front of our yard. And they were all calling out support. "He ain't gone, do you like that, Lil Chris? Not on this street." And things like that. I looked up at Michael and his brother, and I could see the fear on their faces. I just shook my head yes and said not to kill them. Jiggy and Tyrone ran in the house after them and dragged them out into the front yard. Then a circle pretty much formed around them, and it was just the most spectacular beatdown I'd ever seen. After that, Jiggy said they'd help me take all their shit out of the house and told me to keep the shit I liked. So I did exactly that. I went in with like 10 people. I gave some shit away to them, kept some shit, and pretty much just gave Michael and his brother the clothes no one else wanted. They ended up leaving their clothes. Here's why: the next door neighbor was this old veteran. Real gritty, no nonsense old guy named Alvin. Alvin walked out with his shotgun. He walked over to these two bloody pulps on the lawn and said, "Now got the fuck off my street." And he literally just yelled at them to get up and run or crawl or roll to get off of the block. He followed them stumbling up to the main road and then he calmly walked back. And that was the last day I ever saw or heard from either of them. The next few years were hell. Mom blamed me for ruining her relationship, and I had to unlearn all the terrible shit I'd been taught in life and start to go to school and get my life in order. Things are better now. Steal my stuff? Get glittered. I lived in an apartment building. As a member of the local free gifting community, we put gifts out on a regular basis for people to pick up. We had a massive front porch to the building that had plenty of space to put an entire living room set by the front corner and still move furniture and slash out comfortably. Nothing resembling a tight squeeze. We made appointments with people to pick up their gifts, usually within an hour of us setting them out, so there was no issue with trash sitting out. The property manager lived in the building and assured us there were zero issues with the gifts sitting on the porch for pickup. The gifts were almost always labeled or in paper bags with a name on them, to differentiate from the free piles that people would put out with free signs. At some point, I started getting complaints that gifts were not there to pick up when I had set them out. I made sure to tighten appointment pickup times, clearly label who gifts were for, and hide things in clearly labeled bags. But they kept going missing. We had some issues with porch pirates stealing gifts from others, so I didn't consider right away that it was someone in our building, until I noticed a pattern of what time gifts were being stolen, often within minutes of being set out, if they went out at 5 p.m. The rest of the gifts in the area were being stolen in the evening. I got very upset when a gift for a newborn was stolen at lunchtime, when I thought it would be safe to leave out for an hour, and decided to do something about it. I posted in the group, in case it was a member, they'd get a warning to stop, that I needed glitter to stop the porch pirates, and was gifted some in bright indigo. I wrote a note that said stop stealing gifts for other people, and put it in a paper bag. I folded the bag down double, with the edge sticking out for easy pulling open, and stapled one end. Then I used a straw to funnel glitter into the fold, so it would fly out everywhere when opened, and stapled the other end. Labeled the bag with a highly distinctive name, and set it on the porch at 4:45 p.m., with instructions to my partner that if it was still there at 10 p.m. when he got home to bring it inside. Then just waited. I don't know what I expected, maybe some screams or something. Anyway, 5 days later I finally broke down and asked the property manager if anything strange had happened recently. She said as a matter of fact, someone had called to hire the carpet cleaner for an off-schedule cleaning because they spilled blue glitter in their carpet. As they'd caused the damage and used the machine and labor, they'd already paid the carpet cleaning fee. I gave her details that I had put a gift out full of glitter, but it disappeared immediately before my intended recipient, my partner, could get it. Because the glitter had been a consequence of them stealing from their neighbors, and there's no way to get all the glitter out of carpet, they were charged for the damages of a full carpet replacement when they left. And best yet, because theft is a violation of community agreements, their lease was terminated, so they were forced to move with 20 days notice. All the thefts in the area stopped. We're still not sure if it was someone in the group that saw gifts and wanted them, or if they were just driving around picking up random things off people's porches. Revenge on the neighbor's kids' intrusion on our property. So our neighbor's kids do not know boundaries and like to play in front of our house, and sometimes in our driveway. We do not mind them doing that, but we find it disrespectful when they leave their toys behind our cars at the end of the day. Countless times, we have had to move their stuff out of the way to get our cars out, and there have been a few times that we have run over their stuff, and had some close calls with bigger items like strollers and bikes. As my significant other was heading out to put the trash out for pickup this morning, he found one of their bikes right where we are supposed to put our barrel. Guess what ended up being mistaken for trash today? His thought process was they should be more careful where they put their stuff on trash day. He chose not to move it for all the times we have had to do it for them. Whoops. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.